Week 2 is in the books, which means power rankings are out Tuesday morning. We've got our very own Joel Thorman, the power rankings guru, and we've got Brad Wells of Stampede Blue. Joel representing Arrowhead Pride, but also the lead NFL editor at SBNation.com. Be sure to check out his stuff each week and check out the Arrowhead Pride YouTube channel. But Brad and I wanted to ask Joel some questions about the rankings. Of course, they're subjective. Always going to start some conversation, but that's the fun of it. Joel, talk us through the process of putting them together. Well, Seattle at 23. That to me was a mystery. Almost be what looks like a pretty solid Arizona team, and then really handed the Cowboys quite easily. Drawn the ire of any Seahawks fans yet?
A few. I've noticed a couple in the comments section, and I can definitely see the argument that they should be higher. I guess it's kind of that stigma I have still with the NFC West. You still don't think those teams are legit. But Russell Wilson in the preseason was absolutely electric. I was at that game in Kansas City when he lit up the Chiefs, so I know how good he can be. He's just young. I feel like he's absolutely on the upward swing. I imagine you'll see them rising here soon, because I think they may be the second best team in the NFC West, assuming the Cardinals aren't for real, which may not be a good assumption.
Speaking of the West, I think we can all agree on San Francisco being number one, right?
Man, that is a fun team to watch, because it's like old school football. You don't always get that very often, especially Brad, as you know, in Indianapolis, with those Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck and kind of the whole passing thing. But it was kind of one of those games on Sunday night that seemed like it should have been played in like the 80s, the way the defense was playing, the way they run the ball. Alex Smith, I mean, if he's this efficient throughout the entire season, we're really going to, have probably our number one team right now is going to be number one in week 17.
Yeah. It looks like Smith has really turned the corner, and San Francisco's defense and their running game really has come on. And it's not just the fact that San Francisco's 2-0. I mean, the Cardinals are 2-0. There are other teams in this league who are 1-1, or maybe even 0-2, who are still pretty good. San Francisco went into Green Bay and beat Green Bay, beat them handily. And then they beat the Detroit Lions handily at home. So those are two playoff teams last year that San Francisco has pretty effectively rolled. And that speaks volumes all throughout the NFL. I think they're the unquestioned number one team.
And they got a few very, very winnable games coming up. At Vikings, they should win that. At Jets, that'd be tough, but I think you got to pick them there. Bills at home, they can win that. Giants at home will be another tough game. Seahawks. I mean, this is a team that can, if they get a couple of things that go their way, it's not, it's inconceivable to see them starting the season, 6-0, 7-0. I mean, I was one of those guys at the beginning of the season who said, the 49ers are, a team that's going to have to prove it again, because I didn't really think that the 2011 season was real. I just thought that was kind of a fluke. And then, you play two of your toughest games to start off the season and, look absolutely terrific doing it.
Yeah, I think, Dick LeBeau, Steelers defensive coordinator, he has a mindset of, if we hold teams to 17 points or fewer, we're absolutely going to win. And I think it's pretty much the same case with San Francisco.
So don't the 49ers kind of remind you of the Steelers a little bit?
Yeah, they really do. Yeah,
Mid-90s Steelers a lot, yeah.
Yeah,
well, even the Steelers of the past 5 years, I mean, that's their MO. You run the ball well, play good defense, and Roethlisberger bails you out, when he can.
Well, I wish we ran the ball as well as our as much as the narrative suggests we do. But certainly with the defense, you've got to score touchdowns against that San Francisco team. You can't settle for field goals. Another question I had for you, Saints at 14. I think obviously when you have Drew Brees, you're going to be in football games, and I think, they'll probably get on a little run at some point. But that defense looks atrocious. You have them at number 14. Talk to us a little bit about that.
This was probably the hardest ranking. Like I was saying earlier, you this early in the season, you think you know what who these teams are based a lot on last season, and the Saints the past few seasons are obviously one of the elite teams in this league. They start out 0-2. The offense looks good enough, maybe not quite where they were last year, but certainly still one of the elite units in the league. But that defense, you just can't give up 75 points in their first 2 games. I think they're tied for last in the league with the Chiefs, who they play this week. So that was a difficult ranking because I know they're better than that. But how much do you downgrade a team for the actual performance in the games this early? I don't think anyone here thinks the Saints are going to end up being a 2-14 team. But if you look back in history, no team in the last 3 years has started 0-2 and made the playoffs. You'd have to go back to 2008. You had 2 teams, the Vikings and Dolphins, did it that year. But so history says these Saints are in trouble. But we've seen the last 3 years that this is going to be a better team. They may not win 13 or 14 games like a lot of people thought they might. But I still think this is going to be a playoff team. It seems almost like an aberration that they're sitting here at 0-2.
Yeah, one more question for you, then we'll hand it over to Brad. See what he thinks about the Colts assignment. San Diego Chargers, 2-0. Haven't really played anyone too tough, but they've looked solid so far. What do you make of San Diego out west? That's a divisional foe, a team you're familiar with. And what do you make of the Arizona Cardinals as well? I see you have them at 16. I don't think anyone's quite ready to jump on their bandwagon yet. Middle of the pack's where you have them. Do you see them staying this solid?
So I have the Chargers at 10, which I think is fair enough. They really haven't had any really impressive wins because the Raiders and Titans have kind of shown that they're 2 of the worst teams in the league, at least right now. But the thing with the Chargers is, I think when you look at them, you think of Phillip Rivers and all of his struggles last season, and you think he's going to blow it. But the thing is, you look at what Phillip Rivers has done over the first 8 years in his career, and I think last year was the outlier. I don't think that's who he is. Obviously I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Chargers playing in that AFC West. I think ultimately it's going to come down to them and the Broncos. 2 weeks ago I would have said the Chiefs would be there, but we all saw them. So the Chargers I think are legit. It's going to come down to them and the Broncos. The Cardinals are probably the most interesting team in this power rankings, I think, because they're basically the exact opposite of the Saints. I was one of those people 2 weeks ago. I said the Cardinals will be vying for the #1 overall pick. I just thought they were a bad team. Plenty of Cardinals fans, especially in the comments of our power rankings, told me that I was underestimating their defense, and so far it looks like it was. That's going to New England and winning in Week 1 in the Patriots home opener, first ever home opener loss at Gillette Stadium. That is just a major victory. It's got kind of the fluky feel to it, but kind of a win is a win, I guess. And I think we're starting to kind of reevaluate how we're looking at the NFC West, because it was previously the 49ers and then everybody else, and now you look at the Cardinals, they're 2-0. That's nothing to laugh at. Seahawks don't look so bad. I think the Rams will be better. So that's actually shaping up to be a fairly interesting division there.
Yeah, it really is. Saw Bill Simmons had Seahawks as his Super Bowl pick, which is probably outrageous to many, but very, very competitive division. You said it. I like Ray Horton, defensive coordinator of Arizona. They kind of got away from playing these older veterans, Joey Porter, and they got a little younger. Horton learned quite a bit under Dick LeBeau. So that does look like a competitive defense. They'll be in a lot of games. Brad, what do you think about the Colts, where they them? What do you think about the Colts? Well, while Brad comes back, Colts were at 21 last week. So no movement there. Joel explained that. I thought the Colts looked pretty good. how high is their ceiling, or how low is their ceiling?
I would say their ceiling would be kind of a team ending up in the low teens. I see kind of 7 to 9 wins. I think that's possible. Andrew Luck, right off the bat is kind of what we expected. I think he enters the league and he's already a top 20 quarterback. At some point, you got to wonder how high he can get. But I like the Colts. I think they're probably a year or two away from kind of returning to that annual playoff spot that they had for 9 years in a row or something ridiculous like that. So I like the Colts. Not ready to crown them yet, as Denny Green would say. But absolutely they're in the right direction. There's nothing that the Colts or Andrew Luck have done that doesn't make me think that they're going to be kind of what everyone thought they would be in year 3 or year 4 of Andrew Luck.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be just fine. Leads them back in the final minute for a game-winning field goal drive. Probably a big confidence booster for them. We'll see if their D holds up. Let's see. When you rank a team 28th, it's kind of hard to say you're over-evaluating. But let me ask you about the Chiefs at 28th.
Do we have to?
I'm not sure that they belong that high, Joel. They just looked really bad on the football field. Any hope that they turn around, and what is it from them that merits them being above a Titans team that's been a little more competitive than the Chiefs have, a Browns team that has hung tough against 2 quality opponents. I concede the Jaguars are probably worse, but anyway, talk about the Chiefs. Will they get it back on track, and might they even not be close to hitting rock bottom just yet?
It's strange because this is basically deja vu. Last year, the Chiefs' first 2 games, they were blown out, combined score of 89-10. This year, it was only 75-41, so that's progress. But last year, they started out 0-3 and strung together 4 wins in a row. So they've done it before. When they looked so awful last year, arguably worse than they do this year, they ended up turning things around and actually had a shot to win the division in Week 16. So, they're kind of the lesson that if you're 0-2, you're not totally out of it. That's what kind of the 2011 Chiefs taught us. This year it just seems to be the same thing. I just think that this team, the Titans kind of fall into a similar boat with Chris Johnson, but I just think there's just so much individual talent on the team that they can't conceivably keep up this horrid pace for so long. So I think 28th right now for them is a good spot. It recognizes how bad they've been over 2 weeks, but I don't quite think they're at the level of the Jags or some of those other teams even further below them. So I do think the Chiefs end up making a little comeback, and I can see a 7-win season out of them, 6-win season out of them, which is, I understand, a very difficult argument to make considering, they've looked so bad over 2 weeks. But, I'm just, as a fan, I'm just hoping they just start, being competitive, because you can't, go up and you look at a game like the Buffalo Bills on the schedule and, you mark it as a win. You think that's, absolutely a win. Unfortunately, that's not the case. They were blown out pretty handily last week. So I think the Chiefs get better. I'm not sure when that will come, though, because they got the Saints this weekend. They got the Chargers, the Ravens. So, it's not that, crazy to think, that the Chiefs start out 1-4 or something like that, which would make my, 6 or 7 win prediction seem a little silly. But, I think the Chiefs eventually get it back together. I don't think they're a playoff team, but, they're better down the road than the 28th ranked team.
All right, fair enough. Well, it's got to be 10 times over at Arrowhead Pride. High hopes heading into this season.
Don't enter our comment section unless you're ready for some negative cuss words.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys will get something to cheer about. Brutal start to the year. Got time for just one more question here. Looking ahead to Week 3 action. Who are you most curious to see? Who you kind of in limbo about? And a Chargers team, a Giants team. You see the Eagles there at number 5. I think some people would debate that, but obviously they showed they can play a physical brand of football in addition to their high wire circuits act on offense. What are you looking forward to this coming Sunday?
So the Eagles, just like you mentioned, I mean, 2 1-point victories. 5, I can see the argument that that's a little high, but they beat the Ravens, who were my #1 ranked team last week. That was just a huge win. And it's their defense, really, that's kind of, being the standout here when, coming into the season, I thought it would be their offense. So curious to see, how well they do. The Broncos, which Peyton Manning is it? Is it the Peyton Manning that, completed 19 of 26 passes and threw 2 touchdowns and looked, as efficient as can be in week 1? Or is it the guy who throws 3 first-quarter interceptions like they did last night? So that's one, I definitely want to see. The Bears, they were a, trendy Super Bowl pick before the season. And now you're starting to kind of see maybe some signs that they're falling apart a little bit. You got, DJ Moore, one of Bears cornerback, who, kind of called out Jay Cutler. So, he's absolutely, kind of a situation that I want to keep an eye on, because it's one of those things where you don't want them to go, crumbling down the stretch. The Saints, we touched on them. I think they will probably rebound against the Chiefs. The Cardinals, are they for real? That's another big one. So those are some of the teams that I'm most looking forward to. Down on the bottom, the Titans, at some point, Chris Johnson's got to be better, right? 19 carries for 21 yards is horrible. And then, the Raiders and the Jags at the bottom. Are they going to stick there all year? Can the Raiders find that run game? Is Gabbert going to be healthy? Is he going to be efficient? So those are all, kind of the questions I'm looking forward to. But this is the NFL. Every game counts. So I'm really looking forward to, every single game.
Yeah, well, good stuff. We will do this every Tuesday. Pick Joel's brain. Tell him where he's smart. Tell him where he's crazy. But it's good stuff actually hearing some of the thought process behind our NFL editor, Joel Dorman. His Week 3 power rankings are out at sbnation.com/NFL. You can check him out as well at Arrowhead Pride. And don't forget to subscribe here to the NFL channel, the Arrowhead Pride channel, and the SB Nation channel. See y'all soon.
Talk to you guys soon.
Cool.